We just got some new 2028 national polling, and the polling shows exactly what I've been showing you guys for the JD Vance slash Gavin Newsom matchup. And I've plugged in some of the data from the latest poll, looking at the crosstabs as well as looking at some new modeling that I've done to create an electoral college map for this matchup. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video with On Point Politics. Make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want more content just like this. Looking at this matchup, it's actually really interesting because I've been saying Vance is going to get 312 or 302 against Gavin Newsom, and the polling actually shows him winning the national popular vote by about 3 points in the matchup. He's actually getting about 45% of the popular vote, with Newsom getting 42, which is absolutely abysmal for a Democrat candidate, by the way. And all of the matchups are at 13, 15, and 13% undecided, essentially, which is very, very interesting. And when we look at the people who are actually undecided, a lot of them are independent voters. A lot of them did not vote in the presidential election. So a lot of the undecideds are currently new voters who either A, did not vote or voted for somebody else in the last election, particularly a third party candidate. A lot of them tend to be African American and other slash multiple voters. So basically, voters of color are the ones that are majority pretty much undecided, including Hispanic voters. So really, the white vote has practically already made up its mind. It's really the minority vote that's actually really going to end up shifting this one way or another. And the biggest thing that you'll see in the matchups here is when you go to the crosstabs, the biggest difference is the Hispanic and black vote realignment. The white vote and the Asian vote are roughly the same from 24. But if you look at the Hispanic vote, Gavin is beating Vance by about 16 points or 15 points with a Hispanic vote. However, with the black vote, Vance has actually gained substantially because Newsom is only polling at 54% of the black vote nationally, which is an atrocious number. And looking at Vance there, I mean, he is sitting at a comfortable 26%. And you could see about 19% of the black vote is currently undecided, which is a really large amount. And you can obviously see a majority of the minority demographics are the ones that are undecided. And particularly younger voters are the ones. So minority, normie, younger voters are the undecided voter in the elections. And when you put up somebody like Gavin Newsom, somebody like JD Vance will probably be able to win a decent amount of those voters, like about 2-1, or, 2 to, like, something about 60-40, I would say, is something he'd probably win those voters by. And so even if you were to get all the undecideds and put them together, you pretty much have an electoral college victory for JD Vance. The voter that is currently undecided is mostly young, minority, normie, pretty much normie voters. Those are the voters that are currently undecided about this matchup. And when we look at the modeling that we did, Vance improves from Donald Trump's performance in 2024. Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, all of Nebraska, including the top, the at-large vote, is all safe. Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, Alaska, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, South Carolina, and Florida are all in the safe Republican column. If we look at the map here, Iowa and Ohio are also in the safe Republican column, with Iowa shifting about 0.7 percentage points to the right, or 0.6%, and Ohio shifting about 2 points to the right in this matchup. So they both get more Republican than their counterpart. And we even see Nebraska being a little bit under 20 points. So Nebraska's first will still be over 12. But again, it is getting slightly closer there. Looking at the blue safe states, we see California, Oregon, Washington are in that column, as well as Massachusetts, Maryland, DC, and Vermont are all in the safe Democratic column, as well as the District of Columbia, Maine's 1st Congressional District, and Hawaii. That is actually it for the safe Democrat states. Because if you look on the rest of the map, there are no more states that actually go above 12 percentage points for the Democratic nominee. And this is actually a really bad sign for somebody like Gavin Newsom. And when we look at that black vote shift, I mean, yes, a lot of them are undecided, but unfortunately, and even if you look at their party ID, like let's actually look at the undecided voter, a lot of them are independents. So a lot of them are not even, some of them voted third party, but a lot of them didn't vote third party. Some of them haven't just, they just have not voted. And it's that can totally change the dynamic of the map where you have certain voters just not breaking for Gavin or not breaking for Vance. You know, the safe assumption would be to assume that they would split about halfway, which I don't think is the case. I think they'd break, 6-4 Vance, essentially. And that would put Vance at like a 4 to 5 point lead in the national popular vote against Gavin Newsom, which is something I was more so suspecting with a Trump Harris matchup. But, who knows?
Multiple wars around the globe and central banks are turning to gold. Gold is the most in-demand safe haven asset among central banks. Demand for gold comes as central banks look to move away from the US dollar, and it is the only currency central banks are looking to reduce exposure to. The dollar has sunk into its lowest level in 3 years. The Citibank CEO warned sovereign wealth funds are diversifying more aggressively, and according to Nassim Taleb, gold is now the world's reserve currency. As of July 1st, gold is now classified as a Tier 1 full reserve asset. Forecasts for gold have now reached $6,000 to $7,000 an ounce. Silver and platinum have joined the commodity supercycle that has many years left. Call the proud Americans of Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Mention On Point Politics and you'll get best-in-class service from Patriots protecting Patriots. Patriot Gold has the no fee for life IRA where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver, and you may be eligible for the no fee for IRA on qualifying rollovers. Call 1-888-795-9430 for a free investor guide today. Patriot Gold Group is a Consumer Affairs top-rated gold IRA dealer 9 years in a row. Call 1-888-795-9430.
Looking at some of the likely Republican states, Arizona and Nevada fall into that column, as well as the state of North Carolina and Maine's 2nd congressional district, which puts Vance at 252 electoral college votes. I mean, Vance is winning Nevada by 6 points. He's winning Arizona by 6.7%. So he shifts Nevada by 3 points and Arizona by only a point in this matchup. So we clearly see that there. And this is mostly due to some kind of like white voters kind of moving in Vance's direction and some young voters moving into his column. That's mostly what this is. Again, a lot of the Hispanics actually shift away towards Vance in this matchup, but this is currently what we see here. And in North Carolina, I mean, just looking at the state, it does shift by about 3 points to the right here, mostly because the black vote drop off is mainly why this is actually happening. You can clearly see that Gavin Newsom is underperforming Harris's vote share in the state in terms of raw votes way more than Vance is even underperforming Donald Trump in the state of North Carolina. He's getting probably a little bit less than Trump in North Carolina, so it's not really that big of a difference. And then looking at the likely Democrat states, we have Colorado, New Mexico. These stay in the likely column. Colorado shifts like a little bit Republican, but New Mexico actually shifts backwards just a tiny bit. And this is mostly due to some older white voters kind of shifting away from Republicans. That is mostly where that comes from. Gavin actually does break into the Republican margin a bit, but Vance also improves on the Democrat margin as well. So the crossover vote share is a lot higher in this matchup than what it is in the 2024 election. Illinois is also in the likely column, as well as Delaware, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, and New York as well. These all fall into that category, with Connecticut and Rhode Island actually shifting basically pretty much 2 and 3 points to the right. And Delaware actually ends up going all the way down to just about a 8.9 percentage point win because of the black vote drop off from Gavin Newsom. So that is something to keep an eye out for in this matchup. The black vote, Gavin only getting 54% of the black vote is going to shift some of these states in the South quite a lot to the right. You can see Maryland shifts about 5 points. So does Delaware, and you can even see in the Sun Belt right here. I mean, you clearly see pretty decent shifts. I mean, Louisiana shifts another 5 points to the right. Mississippi another 5 points. Tennessee a little bit less because that's when you start getting into more white country. But even in South Carolina, I mean, Vance is gaining 5 points there. Florida, Vance gained 6.5 points there, which is also really interesting. He actually wins the state by 19.6%. Gavin gets about 4 million votes there, and Vance is getting about 6 million, which is still less than what Trump got, but Newsom is just falling through the floor in the state. Same thing in Texas. It's the same thing. Vance gets less votes in Texas than Trump did, but Gavin just completely falls through with some black and certain white voters. He completely falls through the floor in the state, and so that's why that ends up being the case there. And if we look, for example, at some other states. New York is just a 6 point win in this matchup. That's it. It's only a 6 point win here. It is barely almost above being a lean state for the Democrats. It almost falls in the lean Democrat column. And so it's practically just as blue as Maine is, because Maine is only a 5.8 percentage point win. It shifts to the right by like a point from 2024. Minnesota shifts about a point and a half from the last election. And in New Hampshire, actually, Virginia is lean, and Nebraska is in the lean Democrat column. The margin gets cut at about half, but Gavin improves his raw total vote share from Harris's performance. And then in terms of the lean Republican states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Georgia all fall into this column, and Vance makes some significant improvements in the state, but this is really only because Gavin's turnout is abysmal. Like, I mean, Vance gets 300,000 less votes than Trump in Georgia, but Newsom gets like 500,000 less than Harris. And that's mostly because of the black vote kind of dropping off. In Pennsylvania, you kind of have the same thing. I mean, Vance does just about as good as Trump did in the state. He actually does better. But Harris, Gavin drops like 100,000 votes from there. So he's winning the state by about 4.5 points. And then in Michigan, you clearly see that he's getting about 2.9 million in the state of Michigan, which if we actually go to the state and we look at the vote totals, he's getting a little bit more than what Trump got in the Rust Belt. And then Newsom is also getting just about a little bit more than what Harris got. And then in Wisconsin, both candidates outperformed their previous nominees, but Vance wins by 70,000 votes in Wisconsin instead of like 30,000. So it's a much more comfortable margin in Wisconsin than before. And the two tilt states are New Hampshire and New Jersey. Those are the two states. New Hampshire only shifts a point to the right, but New Jersey shifts about 4 points to the right and is basically within like 100,000 votes of flipping. So it is possible that New Jersey would actually be the one to end up flipping instead of New Hampshire. Like, it could be the case. Maybe New Hampshire is the one that goes first because it needs less raw total votes. So really the two most likely pickups for JD Vance against Gavin Newsom in 2028 is either going to be New Jersey or New Hampshire. Those are the two most likely pickup opportunities for JD Vance against Gavin Newsom, according to the latest Emerson poll. Make sure to hit the like button and to subscribe if you want more content just like this, and I will see you guys in the next video.